Teacher with fly fish food, and this is one you're going to want to watch. It's going to be a long one, but it's worth it. This is the best hopper I've ever tied in my whole life.
Yeah, that's a big brown bro.
Okay, you know that I have a fly called the Project Hopper. It's a lot of work. I have a fly called the Project Sculpin, so on and so forth. The project flies are always in the works. You know, they're flies that it helps if you have a very realistic option for these. The other thing is they're always under construction. So I'm always messing with this. I had a wild hair on how to make the Project Hopper a little bit better, and I think we nailed it. So be warned, this is a long video, and it's a long video on purpose. There's a lot of detail here. Sometimes the way that I tie a fly that I show on YouTube is maybe not exactly how I show it on the video because I put more detail in. Maybe I'm coloring things, maybe I'm making my own templates to build bodies or color my own rubber legs or whatever. So keep in mind we're going to show you how to do all that stuff while we're doing this. And we're going to start out by going to straight top down on this, and we have a mat put out, and I'm going to show you what happened when we started doing this. But real quick before we go, check this out. These are my notes. Tying a fly, you know, this is a cool fly, you'll be able to see it in just a second, is one thing, but being able to teach it and being able to show someone else how to get this same result's another thing. So I'm trying something new. We measured it all out. We're going to be able to get you exact information on this. Okay, so with the exact specs, let's just start with making the body. On the Project Hopper, there's a hopper body cutter made for it, and it's maybe just a little bit too hard. So what I've decided, I wanted to make a hopper that has, you know, just a body that you can cut out with scissors. There's no trimming, no burning, none of that stuff. Well, there kind of is burning and singeing, but it's a lot easier to get a good body out of this than it was with the Project Hopper. So here's what we're going to do. And this wedge shape is good for all sizes. So size 12 to size 4 does them all. So we're just going to mark here 45 millimeters. 45 millimeters there, 45 millimeters there, and we're just going to draw ourselves a fancy little line. Just like that. So those are 45 mil. And then I'm just going to make a bunch of lines that are 1 centimeter long, so, or 10 millimeters. Okay, sorry to confuse you. I'm gonna have to stick my head over this. Oh yeah, I have readers now that will help me. I literally was in my shed the other day reading something, and I'm like, man, did I get a new update on my iPhone? No, it was really because I was reading my screen with my readers on for the first time. I'm like, whoa, the clarity of my iPhone just went through the roof. All right, while I did that, I marked that all up, and we're just going to draw some lines now. I think that one terminated about right here. Boom. So on, so forth, and you get the picture. Okay, so we'll go to this one and then we'll stop. Okay, so here we have you know, 4 of those boxes, and then all you're going to do is you're going to draw a diagonal line again across these. Okay, this is the part that you always got to leave a bit of room on with your marker. Okay, so we're just going to do that. It's like an art project. Freaking love it. All right, so there you go. All right, so once we have those drawn out, I'm just going to take some scissors, typically a long blade, pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut this out. I'll start with this bad boy right here. All right, So there's our little jig. This is 8 bodies that we just made, okay? So I'm going to start over here and I'll just cut these out like so. Boom, boom. So you get the picture, right? So in no time, we have plenty of hopper bodies. And again, depending on what portion of this wedge we use, we can tie a size 12, a size 10, an 8, all the way up to about a size 4 hopper if we use that whole chunk of foam, okay? So once we have this, I'm going to trim, those are big scissors, I'm going to trim this off. But I forgot. Sorry. I'm not trying to make this like a Kelly Gallup video, but I literally just did take my glasses off. And this is why he does it. It's weird looking at the camera with this. It's like all foggy. Okay? You have to take them off to focus. KG, I'm with you. I'm Team Kelly. Okay? Put that in your journal. Wait, what were we talking about? All right, so last fall, you know that I had ankle surgery. I went up to Jimmy's, worked for about a month, and during that time, I had a wicked idea for a hopper, okay? Started out here, we're gonna show a really cool image of all these versions of the hopper. And it ended up, you know, with the final product. But the reason why I'm showing you that is because this fly went through a lot of rounds, a lot of development. I would tie a bunch up, send them out with the guides. The next day they'd come in after their trips, they'd tell me what they liked, what they didn't like. We had flies that would lay on their side, we had flies with bad hook gaps, we had flies that weren't durable, and we fixed all that. This fly will land perfectly upside or right side up. I almost said upside down. But this fly will land perfectly right side up. It will hang a moderate size dropper, and it's very durable. One guy said that he caught 26 fish before one of the legs fell off. So, and you don't need a lot of these in your box. Like this is a fly that you need to have like 4 or 5 of them in case you run into that big fish that won't eat anything else. Typically something really realistic that rides perfectly, they will eat. So that's the idea behind the project flies. Also, if you like to just sit around and do art on a hook, this is the way to do it. So that is the idea behind this project hopper. Once we get to this point, we're going to put some burn marks in this, okay? I'm going to use this little piece of foam. This little piece of foam didn't sign up for this, but it's going to get used for it. All right, so I'm going to take my cautery tool and I'm going to singe some lines into this foam. But there are specific lengths that I'm going to use to make sure that my proportions end up proper. And so I have noted that, let's see, in my notes, see right here, we'll write this out, that I bar this 20 millimeters up the foam. So before I use this, we'll just take this bad boy and I'm going to say I'm going to put bars in this 2 centimeters up. So that's going to be the last one right there. Okay, and then I'm going to add 2 other little marks for another 7 centimeters. I say, what a nerd, Cheech. This is totally not like me to like measure stuff out. All right, so I have those 2 little marks there. Once you get one of these built, you can turn it into a little jig. Like what I did is I just right here. This is for a size 8 fly. And I'm going to cut that piece off when I tie it, but you can use that also as a jig. So once I have it like this, I'm just going to take my cautery tool and I'll try to do this so that I don't screw anything up. But am I all like, I got to make sure that my head's not in the way. But all right, I'm going to get right down here and I'm going to just make some light stripes across it. There you go, and I'll just close off, or I'll just go through this far side. Very little pressure does it on that. So Once I have those made, I'm going to come in here and angle this. I'll just make like 3 little stripes like this. Let's see here. All right, so there's our Project Hopper body. So we have kind of some texture burnt into the foam. It looks pretty cool. And at this point, we are going to paint this and set it aside while we build some legs and we build a few other parts of the fly. So to do this, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to take a yellow Sharpie and I'm just going to color the whole thing just like that. And then I'm going to go along the sides, maybe mash down here where we've got some, you know, some burnt marks. I'm going to take some brown and just kind of go like this and just blend those together. And what happens is you end up with like a really cool, like dirty yellow. You know, some of the old guys back in the day remember that marigold Sharpie color that was just magic. And this is a technique that I learned from my good buddy Clint Goodman. He's maybe the best fly tyer that you don't know about. Super next level creativity. But he used to do these really cool stones that had this style of body. And what makes it cool is when you put glue on this, like head cement, it just kind of makes it all kind of stick together a little bit. So, maybe if I put the Sharpies in the right place, maybe a little bit more yellow just on the belly. Perfect. All right. So, I'm just going to take that body and I am going to coat that with head cement. This is just standard head cement. I think, you know, Sally Hansen's would work with this. It would probably work better because it's got a brush applicator. But what happens with this is it kind of just gets all this glue to move around nicely. And the colors kind of meld together and it kind of creates a mottled effect a little bit. And then once this dries, the glue just kind of soaks into the foam and it looks way cool. So we'll let that sit. As you can see, we have a pretty cool hopper body so far. Hopefully you haven't said too many bad words, and we'll go on to the next step. All right, so I have a few of those bodies made. We're gonna set those aside, they're gonna dry, and now we're going to make the portion for the legs. So I like this this razor foam from Wapsi. It comes with a 1 mil piece and a 1/2 mil piece. So we're going to use 1 mil foam for this. I already got a piece farmed out right there. All right, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these legs 4 millimeters wide, and they're essentially going to be 38 millimeters long. Very specific. I know it's weird, but it's what gets this to work. All right, so once I get that marked out, I'm just going to use my roller cutter and a straight edge. This will go right into your fingers, so be careful. All right, so that's for my legs. Let's see. On my desk, I have it all measured out. How long these need to be. I had another piece of it over there. Oh, cheated. There you go. There's a pre-made one. 38 mil. 38 mil. All right, so those are some leg pieces. And now we need to knot the leg, the back leg. So I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this. It's actually with a pair of tweezers. So What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a small loop like this. It's actually a pretty large loop, and I'm going to put my tweezers through here and just grab the very tip of this, okay? Now I can pull that tight, pull the loop through, and I have kind of that perfect little ankle piece. I am going to put a tiny little bit of super glue in there. Those rubber legs will come unknotted if you let them. Alright, so I'm going to trim that off and just do that one more time. Again, this is something that you're going to want to do in bulk as you prepare for this. And we're just going to come in here, maybe the right way. And you can close that loop off and just pull it through. And you have a perfect little ankle piece without wasting too much material. And it's quite fast doing it that way. Alright, so set those somewhere where they won't glue to too many things. And before we get too far, we're going to roll out 2 more little pieces of foam. When I say roll out, we're going to cut them to width. These are going to be for our kind of our over pieces on the hopper. Okay, so I'm going to cut 2 pieces of foam. This is razor foam. The first layer that I'm going to put down is going to be 1 millimeter, and the next layer is going to be 1/2 millimeter. So 1 millimeter in black, 1/2 mil in tan, and you can use the Rainey's Crosslink stuff. You can use the Montana Fly foam. Sometimes those foams can be a little trickier to glue. You just need to hold them in place a little bit longer. No big deal. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to measure out 7 millimeters. Okay, I have determined that 7 mil is a good width to cover up this if we're building and trimming the body right. So we'll just mark that. It's hard to see on this black foam, but it is marked, and I'm using a roller cutter for precision. There we go. Don't cut your fingers with this. It'll mess up your whole life. Alright, so we'll do 1 black, and then we'll do a piece of, just randomly using this ruler to grab 7 mil measurements. Do a piece of tan in 0.5. Keep your money makers out of the way. They'll cut them right off. Did I say that like 6 times, Brig? I'm worried to death that people are going to be, you know, injured permanently by this. No fun. All right, so we have those cut. Let's show you how to build these legs. Okay, so here are the 38 mil pieces that we have grabbed. This was the most frustrating part of the other Project Hopper because we were having to poke a hole in the foam. We don't do that anymore. I'm just going to roll that over and create a little loop like this. Take my piece that I glued and knotted, and I'm going to throw that through there, just like that. Okay? And I'm going to want to have that far enough in my finger that I can just kind of pinch it shut. But as you can see, here I'm looking at this angle coming out. You know, it's kind of a funky angle, but we want that, okay? So that's about the length that I'm going to want for this fly, maybe a little bit longer. Just like that. But as you can see, if I need to adjust it, I just loosen these 2 fingers, move this gently, and then repinch, okay? This will move all over. It's not going to stay like this if you try to add glue now. So check this out. It took me too long to figure this out, but you're going to want to use it. These little hairline material clamps are saving the day, and all I'm going to do is pinch this little bottom section, just like this, okay? And what that does is it locks that leg exactly where we want it, and it opens it up so that I can add glue. So I'm going to paint some super glue on the inside of this, and get a bunch back here behind the leg. Okay, Now I can take that and pinch that together. Now watch this. If I just take this and move it up, it's going to put the ultra clamp on here and also add some cool texture. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that in there for just a second. That super glue will lock up really quick, and then when I pull that out of there, I have a rough leg. Okay, so what I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to take from about here, I'm going to cut it from about here to the point. So watch this. If I go from this angle to this point of this angle down here, boom. Now I have a really cool angled hopper leg, just like that. And then our excess looks like this. So we're going to do that again, and Brigham can fast forward this one. Approved. For one final piece, we're going to take a piece of 0.5 mil, and we're going to make a square that's roughly, not roughly, there's no roughly about this, that is exactly 12 by 14 mil. Okay, so there's my 12 by 14 piece. I'm going to fold that in half now. Maybe, if I can figure out how to do it. And I am going to just really like 5 millimeters up this, so about like right here, you cut an angle cut. So roughly 5 mil. I've tied a few of them, so I know that's roughly 5 mil. Boom. There you go. And you have a little home plate looking thing, or a house. Okay, so that's a piece that we'll need. We'll need our two pieces, one of 1 mil, one of 0.5. We have our body, and we're ready to roll. So at this point, this thing is done. Okay, this thing's done curing, and you can see that, you know, if you just have your markers out, you can really make a bunch of them in no time. Okay. This is a cool tool I'll show you. This is a Stonfo super cutter tool. Brigham looked up the actual name and he'll put it in the video, but it has a little razor blade on one side, and we're going to use that to make a little incision down the middle. So what I'm going to do is pretty much just take the hook that I'm going to use. This is a Mustad, what is it, the R50 AP. It's their new model of hook. They're super, super sharp, and they've got a giant eye. So this is going to sit in here about like, about like this, okay? So I'm going to push that in there to make an indent line for me to cut my body line. Now, I did make a little note here that it's roughly a 14 millimeter incision, and it starts about 21 millimeters up the body and ends 14 millimeters from there. We'll have it all written out. If you like it that way, goodness gracious, good for you. But the idea is we're going to make an incision so just the top of the hook shank goes into the foam, and the hook eye, it's not cut any further past the hook eye. Okay, so I think I got where I need to go. I'm just going to cut just barely deep enough into that foam to get my hook in there. Just like that. All right, so now you can see I have a nice incision in the foam, and we're ready to put this on the vise. Okay, now we have a hook in the vise. We're dealing with the Mustad Alpha Point R50 AP. A few things that I like about this is it's got a really big eye, chemically sharpened, and it pokes fish super well. Now this is kind of confusing because this is really a size 8 body, okay? But it's a size 6 hook that I'm putting it on. Typically I would tie this with a 2x long size 8, but because I wanted the extra gap, I'm just tying a size 8 fly on a 6. So just like me, it's a 6 that's pretending to be an 8, and it never works out well, okay? So let's just put this on here real quick. That was a good joke, right, Brig?
Yeah. That was a good one.
Nailed it, right? Okay, sick. All right, cool. All right. So we're just going to put this on here and just lightly lash that down. And it's gonna wiggle all around on us. That's fine. And we're gonna color this thread once we're done with it. Okay. So, but what we're gonna do, and just to make this not look so weird, I'm gonna cut off this weird angled headpiece. But I'm gonna take that piece of foam that was 7 mil long, the 1 mil piece, and it's black, and I'm gonna tie that in right on top of this piece of foam. 2 real loose turns so that I can wiggle it and make sure that it's right on top. Maybe a little bit this way. All right, perfect. So that foam's tied right on top, and I'm going to glue that to the top of this this fly with some super glue. I am going to tack this down a little bit. Oh, that hook's so sharp, it's trying to eat my thread. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of super glue and I'm going to just coat this whole body. And that yellow super glue, or that yellow Sharpie, reacts with super glue and it turns red. So we're just going to ride with it. It's going to be a little bit of red on the tip of our hopper. So I'm going to lay that down, making sure that body is right in the middle. That's why it has to be facing me. So see how that looks. And I'm just going to pinch this down on the sides of this all the way back. And pinch. This is the most critical part to pinch right here, right in the tail. We will need to add just a little bit more super glue under there, just right here. If you're going to super glue your hands together, this is the fly that you're going to do it with. All right, so nice and tight. The reason why you want to get that nice and tight back there is because now we're going to trim that off. Okay? And I'm going to cut it kind of at an angle like this, and it gives it kind of that upswept hopper style body. See that? And I know what you're thinking. You just put black over all that really cool artwork, that paint job. Well, guess what? We're going to put tan right back over the top of it now, and we're building up just some layered color. So I'll lay the tan one right on top of that one, going a little bit further back. Tie this in, make sure that our hopper is sitting just how we want it. And now I'm going to glue that one down. And before I do that, I'm going to just reinforce the black piece too. We'll just squeeze them all in one big squeeze. All right. Coat this one with some super glue all the way up the body, and then a little bit on top of this one again so that we can pinch it tight. One guy asked, how do you tie all these super glue flies without gluing your fingers together? The fact is, I don't even know. They should be glued permanently together. All right, so once we have that here, again, we're going to push that down the saddle and fold that right in half and pinch it down. All right, so now the body's pretty much done back here, and I'm just going to give it a nice hold for a second. Brigham can fast forward this part because you're just going to stare at my fingers for a sec. Okay, so there is our body shape for this hopper. Now it's time to tie in the legs. I'm going to get rid of these extra pieces up here. As you can see, I have a big red mark here. That's from yellow marker and super glue. Anyway, so, okay, when I tie in the legs, pretty simple. I'm just going to take this, tie it in here, keep it nice and on the side here, And on this side, I kind of have to peek over. Otherwise, it wants to go too far under. Boom. So there we have some legs tied in. Not a lot of wraps. All right, we're going to finally be able to tie this sucker down and get it to stop rotating every 4 seconds on us. But before we do that, we're going to trim off these tabs for the legs. Just like that. Maybe this one a little bit tighter. Boom. That's pretty killer. So you can see our paint job's holding up. And I am going to now take my thread forward to the front and hammer down this body right here. So give it a little bit of a pre-pinch, tie that down, and we're set. Okay, now that that's down, I'm going to back that off. I'll throw in some super glue on the body and put it back in and retie. Now I know that that super glue is in the right spot, and we're dialed. Okay, at this point, okay, Brig, judgment call here.
What's up?
The super glue is turning everything bright red underneath. Well, I just covered it with brown. It's fine. Okay, so as you can see, the super glue is turning the yellow red, but that's just adding a little bit of flavor to it. We're going to work with it. Not a problem at all. All right, so what I'm going to do now, and you can do this without any of the marker stuff too. This is all just like extra read all about it stuff. So I'm going to cut the head about like that. Okay. Now hopper heads are not big and bulky. They're nice and slender, and so I'm going to cut the head into a point like that on one side. I don't want to screw this up. Let's see, and like that. Okay. So we're going to cut it into a copperhead. If this was a snake, it's venomous, and if it bites, you seek medical attention. Okay. It's got that copperhead shape. So now what we're going to do is pull down our black tab, tie it down in our tie-off spot there. And you guessed it, we're going to glue this again over the head. But this time, I'm going to glue a little bit in front of the head, and I'm going to pinch this in front of the head. So pull that forward, kind of pull it down and pinch that around that wedge. Just like that. Very nice. All right, and we're going to do the same with the tan one before we trim. I got to tie it in first. So tie, 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 glue, glue, glue. Zap-A-Gap better be sending me commissions on this because people are going to be going through this stuff. Goodness. All right, so we got glue on both sides. I'm going to come down here and pinch this on top of the black one. I'm just going to hold this in place for a good hot second. All right, perfect. Now it's ready for the final trim, and this is kind of a cool one. And this helps the fly actually sit up on the water when you're mending it. And it's got an angled head, so I'm going to take this, and if you look at this, I'm going to cut this head not just straight down like this. I'm going to cut it more at an angle. All right, so let's see if I can get it to turn out. Perfect. There you go. So there's a nice angled head. Looks just like a hopper, I think. Anyway, let's throw that pronotum on there, that little home plate, that jobber that we built. So that goes on next, and it's going to fold over, and you want to make sure that it folds over equally on each side. and it will sit about just like that. Maybe I'm going to move it over toward me a little bit. The reason why I did that, let me see if it turned out. Yeah. So I want to tie my legs in right at the base of this pronotum, right down here, okay? And that just gives a kind of a realistic look, and those legs will hang down in the water just like a hopper. All right, as you can see, I took my thread back off. I put it back where it's supposed to be. I took off the pronotum because I forgot to tie on the wing. So do this while you're back here before you take your thread forward, okay? So you're just going to tie this in. It's just like a piece of foam that is roughly, I don't know, the same width as the body at that point. So let's tie that in, trim this off. And one of the reasons it's there, yeah, it probably doesn't do much, but it does add a little bit more displacement, a little bit more buoyancy. So I'm just going to put a little strip of super glue right down the middle. And I'll just put this on just like that. Perfect. All right, now we can go back and put that pronotum on. Again, I'm going to put that, oh, you know what? I need to hurry and finish this. The struggle bus. The struggle bus doesn't care what fly you're tying or whether you're making a YouTube video. It'll find you and it'll pick you up. Okay, again, that pronotum, I'm looking head on to the fly, and I'm going to make sure that it's equal on both sides because we're going to tie in our little rubber legs now right at the base of that pronotum. This might be the easiest part of the whole fly, so take a deep breath, pat yourself on the back, grab an adult beverage if that's what you need to chill out because you've just tied an awesome fly. We're just going to take a simple piece of centipede legs. This is just their, I don't know, don't quote me on the color, but a lot of them work, but this is like their clear with tan or black or something like that. But it's a cool color for hoppers. Just anything that's like tannish with dark lines, just like this. So this will do just fine. I'm going to trim that, and now I'm going to push those back legs forward, and I'm going to trim everything, and that should make the back legs just a touch longer than the front ones. I'm going to do that again. Boom. So our legs are sitting kind of just how I want them. Now you see how they sit right under that little tab for the pronotum. And I have pre-trimmed a piece of 2mm foam, whatever flavor you like. This is a very personal thing, but the indicator on this thing was developed like this on purpose. As you can see, it's kind of thick, long, and pointy. And the reason for that, it's thick at the base, pointy at the tip. That way you get an indicator that gives you distance or visibility from distance that's not going to bulk up your fly too much like a yarn wing. The other thing is you can see that some of the earlier iterations have a little yarn wing on them, but we decided, or we figured out, that that makes the fly just lay on its side. So once we have it to here, I'm going to just trim off my thread by jamming some super glue. Why not? We've been using it for everything else on this. Just right here, right on top of my little indicator, and we'll trim off our thread. All right, so at this point, just a few little touch-ups, and then we'll be golden, okay? So I'm going to adjust the fly. It's pretty tight. It's not very wiggly, and as that glue sets in, it will even get better. I'm going to come in and color my thread wraps. And as you can see, I've already colored in part of this, but the fly started turning a little bit red because the super glue, not a problem at all, actually. But we can come in here and now doctor up any of the parts that are going to be close to the water, you know, the parts that are going to be exposed to the fish's view. And we're just going to kind of blend those in here now. Something about right here. And again, this is art class. You don't have to do the marker step. You can just leave it plain color, no problem. But you can see, look at the bottom of that fly, like in all different types of colors. Like this looks like a real fly. And even if it gets chewed up, like sometimes you just need a fly that's going to be good for one trophy fish. And if you're going to go to a small stream where little tiny brookies are, chewing everything up, this might not be the fly for it. All right, so I put on some big old black eyes. You can do those however you like. And then just to finish up, I'm going to add a little bit more of this head cement to the very bottom of the fly. It's going to kind of blend it all together and also solidify a lot of those tie-in points and stuff. So anyway, this is a super cool fly. It's been very, very effective already most of last hopper season, and it's just barely getting going for this year. So anyway, one thing I'm going to do to keep those legs a little bit more durable and keep them in a little bit is I'm going to put in a little bit of super glue right behind these little joints here and push the legs just a little tiny bit back. And so what that does is it's going to keep that leg closer to the body. It's going to make it so it's not as hard to cast and flopping all around, and add a little bit more durability. So there you have it. That is Project Hopper 3.0. It's been a super fun fly to develop, and you should type a whole bunch of these and catch a whole bunch of fish.